Welcome. Cheers. Chin chin. Slanchava. Skål. So, this last week, a year ago, Now and Then had just come out. The last ever Beatles single. The last ever Beatles song. Yeah. Now, it's a year on from then. So, yeah, it was 30 years ago was the time that George, Paul and Ringo got together, reunion, to record those songs, Free as a Bird. Well, it's Free as a Bird first, wasn't it? And then I think the following year they reconvened to record Real Love, and then, of course, Now and Then. 30 years ago. And I think about 30 years before that would have been the sort of height of Beatlemania, when the Beatles had become a sort of global phenomenon, hadn't they? Yeah. Now it's 30 years on from next year when the Free as a Bird came out. Do you ever do that thing where time starts messing with your head, all these kind of time scales? And I think you start obsessing about it when you get older. Yeah, it's called getting old. Not just getting old, but getting very old. Well, they call them the Threetles. The Threetles. It's a bit of a silly name, but it's a sort of typical name of the press, isn't it? Really, I think it was the Sun in this country who came up with that word. I don't know. Did they? Yeah, it's a problem. It kind of reinforces that prejudice that people have that it just because John wasn't there, it wasn't a bona fide Beatles recording, which is a bit of a shame. They were Beatles recordings, You hear that? And Paul was coming at the time, 30 years ago. Paul was coming back, or so, years ago, maybe less than that. Paul was coming into the US, flying in, and a customs guy kind of accosted him, like this pasty-faced young customs guy, and he said, "Where's the effect? Oh, Mr. McCartney, I just wanted you to know that the project you're doing with the Beatles, I don't consider it the Beatles because John Lennon isn't there." Unbelievable. Saying that to Paul? I mean, it's the Beatles because well, if nothing else, it said Beatles on the record label, and 3/4 of the band decided that it was, and it's a bit like saying, some of the songs on the White Album, the ones where just individual, like John or Paul individually worked on their own song with no involvement from the others, like Julia. Oh, lovely song. I think that was just John. I don't think any of the others had any part in that. And Blackbird. Oh, Blackbird. That was just Paul. So it's like saying, those songs aren't the Beatles because it was just there was no involvement from the others. It's kind of silly. I don't know. The Beatles seem to get more criticism than any other band. Why is that? People are harsh critics. Some of these fans are really harsh critics, aren't they? They don't mean to have a go at them, but they can be, can't they? And yeah, this picture here. It's a great picture. It was on a. It was. I'm sure you know the picture where they're at Paul's studio in Sussex, and that white peacock just kind of wandered into the shot, and they thought that was very mystical. They thought, "Is this John? Is this John? The bird? Yeah." That would have made quite a cool single, actually. I've got the singles here somewhere. Yeah, the singles. That was the I didn't. I bought at the time. I bought the CD single, and I bought this one. I can't remember when I bought this now. Before they started going up in price, because these cost a. if you look on eBay now, these are going for silly money, 40, £50 or something like that. Yeah, it's a shame they didn't release it. But the cover, yeah, I quite like the cover. The John drawing and the silly birds, the daft looking birds. But yeah, that could have been quite a cool cover. Oh yeah, I got back into mad record collecting ways again with when Now and Then came out, and you know, yeah, I'll talk about that a bit later. But so yeah, they got together, Paul's studio in Sussex. You know the story, don't you? The Paul got the tapes off Yoko in '94. There was I read it was George's idea actually to approach her for see if there's any stuff they could use of John's, and it was, of course, the anthology was out at that moment, wasn't it? The Beatles anthology, first sort of big sort of Beatles work for years, and if you love the Beatles like me, it was like wow, you know. And Free as a Bird at the time was really kind of a emotional, but Now and Then for me actually was a bit more emotional because back in the '90s I was doing stuff and you know pursuing my dreams, so I was otherwise engaged. I wasn't totally as immersed in it as I was maybe this time last year when Now and Then had come out and I bought all the. Did you? Bought all the different versions of it. Yeah. Anyway, talk about that later. But there was so yeah, they worked on Free as a Bird, and it came out. I must have tinkered with it for quite a long time because I started recording it in in '94 and didn't come out to the end of '95. And then, of course, they rejected Now and Then, didn't they, initially? And then there was another song, Grow Old With Me or Grow Old Along With Me. You know that song by John. It was on Milk and Honey, wasn't it? That album that came out a few years after John died and after John was killed. And yeah, it was a very hard listen, wasn't it? Grow Old With Me on that album. It was, still is actually. It's quite raw. I'm glad they didn't work on it, did they? There's no evidence they did any. They kind of saw the wisdom of not touching that one because it was quite raw. But then I didn't know this until fairly recently, about 5 years ago. Ringo had actually recorded it for an album. Was it about 5 years ago? He did his own version of "Grow With Me," and I only just heard it. Have you heard it? It's really nice. I really like what he's done with it. It's kind of he's kind of restored the song in a way. And what I mean by that is he no longer, when he does it, listen to his recording. If you haven't heard it, it's on here, and he's kind of reinvented it because before it was just that song for me anyway. It was powerfully associated with John, and it wasn't an easy listen. You didn't want to listen to it very often. It was sort of but the way he sings it, nice arrangement, lovely arrangement, really brought the warmth back to the song, if that's the right word. And I read he said he hoped that people would play it at weddings and things. And I don't know if people know the song well enough anyway, even John's original recording, but Ringo's song, yeah, Ringo, well done. You did well with that. I'm really glad he did that. He's kind of really reinvented it. Of course, they were working with Jeff Lynne, weren't they? Down at Paul's studio on all these songs. When Free as a Bird came out, there was a lot of publicity, wasn't there? And there was I don't know if it was shown in the rest of the world. I'm sure it probably was because there was a little short film about asking kind of celebrities their view of it, how they were looking forward to the new Beatles single. Who was on it? They had, Elton John was on it, and they had Noel Gallagher. Noel was on it, and who else? I think Trump. Yeah, I think Donald Trump was on it. Mel Gibson, people like that, just and then the video was great, wasn't it? Did you like the video? I did. It was the swooping, or the flapping birds at the beginning, the wings. It was kind of a bit reminiscent of Across the Universe, wasn't it? And the lovely video, swooping around the bird, flying around um, Liverpool and everything, and all the kind of different, references to all the Beatles songs, like "She's Leaving Home" and "Penny Lane," and newspaper taxis appear on the shore from um, "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds," and carrying pictures of Chairman Mao from Revolution. Yeah, it was a lovely, lovely film. It kind of lifted it. It kind of really was a perfect accompaniment to that song. And it's really nice what they did with it, isn't it? If you compare that to John's piano demo is quite nice. It's got a real innocence to it, but they really lifted that song. They really made it something else. Because the lyrics weren't finished, were they? And the lyrics were really, I think, quite sympathetically well finished. And they took turns on the chorus. Paul took the first chorus, I think, and then George took the second chorus. Whatever happened to the life that we once knew? And then I only found this out the other day. Well, if I knew it or not, I don't know. But I bought it as well. They had a new version of the One, the One Beatles compilation, and it had for the first time all the promo films, didn't it? All those great promo films like the Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane and all the different alternate outtakes of them, and they had a CD with it. And in that CD, they'd remixed both "Free as a Bird" and "Real Love" had been kind of remixed, which was I don't know if I even listened to the CD originally, but I didn't realise that until fairly recently. They'd done some work. Did you on both those two? And when he sings that bit, I noticed when he sings "The Life That We Once Knew," in the second chorus when George sings it, it's become now "The Love That We Once Knew." They've changed "Love for Life," and why they did that? I'm not complaining, but it's interesting, isn't it? Do you know why they did that? And there's a different ending, isn't there? The George Formby bit at the end. They've kind of tidied up a bit, and that nice slide guitar by George, and yeah, it really kind of worked. The Real Love, when that came out. So "Free as a Bird" was like just before Christmas, wasn't it? 95 November, and then "Real Love" came out in 95 about March, and I was less. It sounds awful to say, but less interested in less aware of it because I was otherwise involved, so it didn't really resonate with me at the time. "Real Love," and we'd heard it before, hadn't we? We'd heard the song because it had been used in that what I thought was a great documentary shown in the cinemas. The Imagine John Lennon. Yeah, it was pretty much finished off, wasn't it? It worked really well, "Real Love," as a nice little piano demo, and yeah, I mean they did some nice stuff with it. It had a cool video, didn't it too, with all the pianos and things going up into the air. But as I say, it didn't really resonate with me as much when it came out. Did it with you? It was. It's a really nice song, and I think they did a nice. They made it extra. But if I'm going to be pushed out of all of them, it's probably my least. Sounds awful to say that. My least preferred one out of between those three. Now and Then, "Free as a Bird" and "Real Love." "Real Love's" probably, yeah. And I think they said at the time there was less to do, didn't they? Jeff Lynne was producing again, and they felt a bit like John's kind of sidemen a bit. When "Now and Then" came out, I mean, just a year ago, it had just come out, hadn't it? And it was in the, everyone was talking about it, was playing it on the radio, and I think it got into the charts. Number one, was it here? Not the charts are that important as they used to be. How great they used to be. Sounding old again. But it was lovely. I really loved it. Because George apparently is said to have said it was fucking rubbish. Fucking rubbish. And I don't know. Did he mean the? Did he mean the? Yeah, he must have meant the recording was rubbish because it wasn't a great recording, was it? The Jeff Lynne had said originally the reason that they'd rejected it because the piano was kind of glued to it, and there was. Jeff Lynne did great with both Free as a Bird and Real Love, didn't he? Lifting any sort of noise out of it, and I think there was a buzz on Real Love, and he did a really good job. I wonder why he wasn't invited back to do Now and Then. But kudos to Paul for getting that out, because I'm sure you'd heard it. It was on YouTube, and there was some great versions, particularly one great version of it that somebody'd done. I think they'd done it even before all the current AI kind of obsession. Quite a few years back now, I was aware of it. So before all the AI thing had come in, so I think it had been done quite cleverly with somebody in the tinkering around with it, putting orchestration to it, really showing the song's potential. And I think that helped me. Did it help you? See, you could see the song's potential. It was a strong song. And you think, oh no, they've rejected it. They're not going to do it. And then Paul said in an interview, I'm going to have another go at that one again one day. And he did, bless him. It's out there. And when it came out, I think the problem was because you'd heard this quite clever version with putting orchestra on it, putting violins and things. It was a little bit of if I'm honest, a bit of disappointment that they didn't have the bridge, the I don't want to lose you or abuse you, but if you have to go away, sorry. But the bridge. Were you disappointed that wasn't in it? I was. I mean, they did great with it, and they put an entirely new what they call bridge, didn't they? With Paul kind of copying, being as a tribute to George with the slide guitar. I think that was really nice. Everything about it was great, actually, and they did. I think deliberately, Paul was calling the shots here now, wasn't he? I think it was his baby, really. This, and fair play to him. The fact that you could hear deliberately. I think he made a concerted effort to hear both himself and Ringo singing. And there's a bit of George in there, isn't there? But it's difficult to hear unless you're a really trained musician. You can't really make out George's contribution, which is a slight tinge of sadness to it. And I read that they put a bit of vocal stuff from even like the Abbey Road song Because, and some other songs. They'd lifted some harmonies from that, which I don't know if they needed to do necessarily. You're aware of it a little bit, aren't you? The Because bit, if you listen to it. I'm not one of these people that analyzes, listens to song like it. I go with it. Do you? I'm not a real sort of critic of maybe because I'm not a musician and I don't listen to it with a musician's ear and the way it's been, like all the remixes and things. It's great, but I just like the songs, don't you? Not sort of into that. Pardon me, into that sort of. But yeah, pardon me. When I heard the song, with them, you could obviously hear Paul and Ringo on it. I thought, do they really need that? Or just, you've got John's voice strong. The way that, of course, it was done with Peter Jackson's new technology, wasn't it? The Mal. God bless him. Not that Mal. No. Well, yeah, I once played him, but that's a different story altogether. That's for another time. But the what do they call it? Machine-assisted learning. They managed to, pardon me, they managed to lift the voice, didn't they? Separate the voice from the piano, and really beautiful. People at the time were thinking, is this really John's voice? Because there's so much out there now, isn't there, of people singing other people's songs, convinced they've been able to do it. It's a bit of a, it's very creative at the moment, AI, isn't it? But you just worry about it, getting how it's going to go. But I think it's great to be able to hear some of this stuff. Elvis Orbison, have you heard that site where they do all those? Yeah. But yeah, I was a little bit great. I thought, do they need to harmonise that much on it? But then now, yeah, I don't mind that at all. It's great. I've been listening to it a lot again recently, now and then. I think it's lovely. I think it really stands up there in the Beatles kind of, canon. I don't know. I really do. It's a strong song. And then the video. What did you think of the video? Well, Peter Jackson directed video, and it was quite a moment when you saw that video, wasn't it? It was really. I got quite emotional about it. I really gushed about it. I think on the post on online, I just gushed about it. And funnily enough, now the video rather, it slightly grates a bit. There's just too much overuse of the of culling bits of John and George and all out of the Hello Goodbye video, the promo, one of the promo films for Hello Goodbye. It's a bit too much of that, and John being all goofy and stuff. And I thought, it's nice to have a bit of it, but there's a bit overuse of it, going, and some people say that, I've heard people say that they think it looks a bit weird. Some of the stuff in it looks a bit weird. I haven't really picked that up. It does look like George has got a bit of a long neck in that bit from. I was comparing it with the original film, and yeah, it's hard to see. But yeah, now I like it less, the video, and I'd rather just listen to the song. I noticed just last week, with the 1 year anniversary of Now and Then, the official Beatles site had brought out a new kind of lyric video, with the tape cassette. I didn't buy the cassette at the time, but that's quite a nice little thing. But yeah, the video was powerful at the time, but it's still lovely though, isn't it? But I don't want to criticise anything to do with the Beatles because I love them so much. But yeah, all the different versions of the single. Did you buy? Yeah, I was a big record collector back in the late 70s. When I first got into the Beatles in the sort of second half of the 70s, particularly 78, 79, I was going to record fairs, we were buying everything, and all the Apple artists. I loved the Apple record label, the UK stuff I bought, and then I kind of stopped record collecting a bit into the late 80s and 90s when I was at college, and I was skint, of course. I sold a lot of stuff because I needed some money, and I kept it a bit as well, but not just Beatles, but all the other great stuff like the Kinks and the Who and Hendrix. I used to collect a lot of love 60s music a lot. But yeah, with this, did you buy all the different versions of it? I did. What was it? It was a regular black vinyl 7-inch, the clear vinyl, the marble effect, and then the blue vinyl, and then the 12-inch singles, the regular one, and then the red vinyl, and there was even a 10-inch one. Did you see that? For Spotify people, didn't get that. I wanted to, but I couldn't get hold of it. And now they're going for a lot of money. I'll buy one day when I win the lottery. But yeah, the old mad record collecting thing came back, which I'm not sure is a good thing, but it's nice to have things around you, isn't it? Nice to have these things. And yeah, Beatles singles after all these years. Yay. Yeah, for the 12-inch single, they could have put extra. It would have been nice to have an extra, like a slightly extra long mix. Would it have been too much of a dream to include the extended version with the bridge? Of course it would have been. Of course it would have been. Be grateful for what you got. Be grateful for what you got. It would have been nice to have had another kind of rockier Beatles number too, wouldn't it? Worked on out there, and all one of those songs from Get Back. There's some good unreleased ones that didn't even make it into the Get Back documentary. Uh, Case of the Blues is one of my favorites. You know that one? Everyone knows it's a case of the blues. Everyone knows it's a case of. Sorry. And Watching Rainbows too. That's another strong one. I think, why were those abandoned? They were good songs. Uh, wouldn't require much tinkering to get them. Just a little bit of stuff in them. Wouldn't need to do a lot of extras. Just a bit of mal technology on it, maybe. I don't know. It'll be nice. Do you know that story? There was a lovely story associated with recording them now and then. I'm sure you've heard it, where Paul's assembling all the musicians in his capital in LA, and there was like an orchestra, and there was this woman. What was she called? She was a violinist, Caroline Buckman. That's it. And she was really excited that she was playing on a Paul McCartney single, because it was secretive, wasn't it? They didn't let anybody know that it was a new Beatles single. It was like a decoy name, I think, Give and Take. Was that right? I think it was, if memory serves. And anyway, bless her, she died of breast cancer before Now and Then came out, so she never got to know she was actually performing on the last ever Beatles single. It was great that she played with Paul, but what would have been, yeah, lovely story, isn't it? That, well, sad story. And of course, Paul's going to be playing Now and Then in December, isn't he? Are you looking forward to that? I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm seeing him in Manchester, and that's going to be quite a moment seeing Paul sing that song. Be grateful for what you've got. Yeah, as I said to you before, if you loved the Beatles in the 70s like I did, and once you devoured everything, you were just grateful for what you got. And then when the anthology came out, and yeah, bless Paul for putting Now and Then out. And I'm so glad they did both Free as a Bird and Real Love. They're there in the Beatles canon now, and they're great. Exciting times. Bless you for your company. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again, eh? See you next week.